I'm David. Welcome to Foothills Paintbrush. Morning sunlight illuminates an outcropping of granite, and the human imagination leaps into motion. Greetings again from the Kitchen-Nook. Growing up in Albuquerque, Dennis de la Cruz saw an Indian in the granite western face of the Sandias, the mountain chain in central New Mexico. Many years later, he reminisced with Jolene Gutierrez Kruger of the Albuquerque Journal. At a Little League field one morning, someone had a pair of binoculars and pointed out the Indian. But you didn't need binoculars to see it. What you do need, he explained, is the right viewpoint and the right time of day. What stands out in the morning light is lost in a cascade of craggy detail by noon. As for location, De La Cruz suggested a good place to see the Indian, Albuquerque's Tramway Boulevard between Lomas and Manal. Along that stretch is the intersection with Indian School Boulevard, where early May 7th I pointed my camera north by northeast and made this image, very similar to the one De La Cruz shared with the Journal. From here, the figure is neatly aligned in front of a prominent broadcast tower atop Sandia Crest. It's also close behind the upper cable tower of the Sandia Peak tram, faintly visible in this photograph. Here we do need binoculars. Knowing the position of these towers, it's an easy matter to locate the figure in the Sandias. But why is line of sight so important? We begin to understand by moving a few blocks to the intersection of Prospect Avenue and Juan Tabo. The figure changes dramatically. The space between the hand and head becomes foreshortened, and the head moves off the shoulders. The whole figure leans forward precipitously. Further off the line of sight, from Eubank and Snow Heights, the figure is barely recognizable. The head is almost out of sight behind the arm. What was foreshortened to an upright figure by the initial line of sight is revealed as a series of outcroppings over a long alpine slope. Our final stop is Prospectors Ridge Park. Here we're greeted with a fabulous view of the upper span of the Sandia aerial tram. But where is the Indian? The head is completely hidden, and much of the sunlit area that paints the figure isn't visible from this close to the mountains. If young De La Cruz caught only fleeting glimpses of his Indian from a baseball field, we can understand why. Most of Albuquerque sees no hint of the figure. Only a small wedge in the city's eastern heights lies along the required line of sight. But enough geography. Back to the imagination. When De La Cruz described the Indian to the Journal, he said by the end of September you can see his headdress in full regalia. The photograph here was taken in May, but was this the feature he saw as the headdress? I knew nothing of the Indian interpretation when I made my home here, 15 years before De La Cruz spoke to the Journal. But by chance, this house and kitchen nook occupy a spot in that sweet wedge. It didn't take me long to notice the figure in the Sandias, and I have never needed to rely on fleeting glimpses. From here, every clear morning, and there are plenty of clear mornings in Albuquerque, I have the opportunity to see it. Having some history education, I thought of the Liberty Cap. Coming from ancient roots, by the 18th century, a cap held on a pole symbolized freedom. Some of the earliest U.S. coins incorporate the Liberty Cap, like this 1-cent copper. Then, during the 19th century, U.S. coins portrayed a seated liberty, still holding the Liberty Cap on a pole. The figure in the Sandias doesn't precisely fit the coin's arrangement. Even so, it strongly suggested to me the seated liberty. Indian and liberty are not the only things people see in the Sandias. Before his journal interview, De La Cruz had posted his photograph of the mountain to Facebook, and it drew some new visions. One comment interpreted the lower part of the figure as a man in prayer, head down, hands up. I also used social media to seek out fresh eyes. In a video this February, I included a variety of images and called for interpretations. I didn't reveal any of the figures that had been seen before. Lois, who keeps garden in Pennsylvania, saw birds. Perhaps a small bird. Perhaps a large owl. Nina, a neighbor of mine, saw a turtle in the Sandias. Tim, also from Albuquerque, saw a gargoyle. No, I thought. But then I looked again. Others came up with overlapping interpretations. Darlene, a former workmate from the area, knew nothing about the seated liberty or the Indian in the Sandias when she viewed my photographs. Yet she suggested a seated Indian woman with long black hair. Similarly, another comment to the De La Cruz Facebook post also suggested an Indian woman, this one with a long-haired tabby cat. Bonnie, an artist from West Texas, was also unaware of previous interpretations when she made her suggestion in February. She saw the Statue of Liberty with a raised Black Panther fist. You can tell I've had fun producing this video. Reviewing the photographs of my opening sequence, I was delighted to discover cars from the aerial tram passing one another in the distance. And, while interpreting the interpretations, I advanced my pencil sketching skills, though we can all agree I have a long way to go. At the same time, this spring saw a global pandemic and a deepening national leadership crisis. We all witnessed a brutal killing in Minnesota. Protests stretched nationwide, even to these walls, a short walk from my home. The Tagger memorials were short-lived, but from this spot I noticed something enduring when I swung the camera. Peaceful protest has always been a strong trait of liberty. And my goodness, that does look like a raised fist. When I see the figure in the mountains, I also think of a beautiful song. Ke-a-ba-ha-ho-jon, sung in Navajo by Red Millicody, to the melody of My Country 'Tis of Thee. It maintains Navajo identity while enriching the musical culture of one great land. Liberty does not replace the Indian in the Sandias, She is the Indian in the Sandias. She is of us all. She demands freedom and justice for us all. She insists they be cultivated by us all.